It does not pay to be a pedophile or a facilitator of a pedophile or a friend of a pedophile, nor does it pay to be support of genocide, facilitating a genocide, or outright support celebrating it. This is the kind of the state of affairs with regards to our elites, our so-called leaders, the Trump, the Keir Starmer of the West. They are complicit and are the only reason they apologize. Well, someone like Keir Starmer, whereas Trump wouldn't apologize, but the only reason why these people are apologizing for their mishap with regards to their connection with Jeffrey Epstein, or they overlooked an apologist for Jeffrey Epstein, like Keir Starmer overlooking, the appointment of Peter Mandelson as the ambassador to the UK, the US ambassador to the UK. The reason why they're kind of like, they are prostrating, and they're showing their so-called humility, is that because of course they've been found out. It's only in the moment of being having the spotlight on you, and the media attention and pressure on these politicians, that they are they are apologetic, but actually they're not apologetic for the crimes that they've committed, or the facilitation of a friend of a pedophile, or pedophile themselves. They're apologetic for having slipped, and or rather they're apologetic for the fact that the situation is such that they have to apologize. They don't care about the actual crime itself. They're more apologetic about being apologetic. And so Keir Starmer, obviously a man who's implicated in during his tenure. Now, this is something that needs to be investigated. As a part of the Crown prosecution service, under his leadership. I'm seeing conflicting reports, but under his leadership, Jimmy Savile was not scrutinized to this extent that it could be. And also, let's not forget, Jimmy Savile, a man who was very well connected, a bit like Jeffrey Epstein, and was a good friend of Margaret Thatcher. His demonic attributes were overlooked due to his charming nature, due to the fact that he, in to some degree, the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world, the Jimmy Saviles of the world, these people are very charismatic. These people are very, and they believe in the ethos of the conservative, of rugged individualism, of taking life by the balls. Obviously, these people have taken it to a very extreme level, taking away the rights of vulnerable people, which in a conservative or right-wing state of mind, when divorced from religion, a commitment to let's say the Ten Commandments, or of course the Ten Commandments actually kind of like highlight, empower, taking power of other people, which something is a huge oversight of the religious texture, scriptures, in that it doesn't discuss power dynamics. This is why the scriptures have been used to justify slavery, for example. The scriptures have been used to justify a hierarchical power structure, which puts which kind of is the foundation of a patriarchy. Even if Jesus himself was very much a horizontalist, somebody who's universal in believing in equality. The rigidification, the solidification of religious doctrine in the form of these teachings, obviously are done in a period of time when this hierarchical conservative thinking is widespread, and so therefore religion comes out in a way that is very much a blueprint for conservatism. or serves conservative, desires or conservative tendencies. But so it's not a surprise to me that the Jimmy Saviles and the Jeffrey Epstein, of course, a good friend of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is implicated in thousands and thousands of allegations, or rather messages or comments, or emails, relating to the Epstein files, and he wants to kind of look past that and say, bygone, let bygone be bygones, or at least he would deny it. They know that facing public scrutiny, they would not survive, and they expect us to forget. They expect us to see things in a way that is beneficial to them, politically speaking. But for them, it's a game. But for us, for the thinking, rational human being, that contributes to a democracy, we care about the facts. We care about the morality of taking away the kind of in a sadistic, psychopathic way, taking away the innocence of innocent people, just exploiting them for your own advantage. And I don't doubt at all that Donald Trump was part of some serious crimes, sexual assaults. I do not deny that. No, I do not deny that. Alan Dershowitz, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, of course, the former Prince Andrew. I don't know if he could still be a prince, but the former titled Prince Andrew. Um, I'm pretty sure that these people did some really dark shit. Elon Musk, of course, he wanted to be part of it, and he may have even been part of it. Some of the more insidious kind of activities going on, um, uh, thanks to the cooperation of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, here's something that really is overlooked: is that Donald Trump, Keir Starmer, Peter Mandelson, these people were deeply implicated. They all support the same nation state, and would even go far as to say that they this nation state of Israel is important, is so important, is as important as the nation they're coming from, are living in. Some, there are U.S. politicians, conservative politicians like um, Ted Cruz, for example, whose whole reason for being, raison d'etre, is to for the security of Israel, and that is quite shocking. But here's the thing. Here's a kicker here. If they really cared about Israel being number one, putting themselves before Israel and bowing, bending over for Israel, why is it that they're receiving hundreds of thousands, if not millions, from AIPAC, from lobby groups that are pro-Israel? Now, something there is an element of narcissistic, egoistic greed at play here, and there's an interplay here of, and this is kind of where psychology comes into play. Did the Jeffrey Epstein of the world, there's many of them in the world. These people, obviously they're psychopathic, and they don't care about the vulnerability of innocent children, but they seek power, they seek self-interest, they seek their own putting their own ethnicity on a pedestal. Like, obviously it's no doubt that Jeffrey Epstein was an ardent Zionist. So there's something, you can kind of create a kind of character portrait of these people. These people care about power for themselves at the expense of other people. They care about utilizing the power, the kind of the language of democracy, the language of consensus. But really, they're just trying to manipulate the public, manipulate whoever they're talking to for their own benefit, weaving a tale or and a web of lies, which is what Keir Starmer has been doing since his very existence as a political actor. Of course, Keir Starmer has a human rights background. Of course, first and foremost, he's a careerist. Um, his kind of careers in the past was only a means to an end, which is to seek the higher rungs of his career, and this is his next step. You know, his current step is being prime minister, but really he's not popular. He's not. He's only a proxy for the establishment. He only is there as long as the establishment, as long as even the people. Of course, the people will know now that he's absolute bollocks. Unfortunately, the Keir Starmer is only acting as a kind of a plug against any kind of progressive leftist movement that would oppose the right wing collectively. His and so again, back to psychology. The Jeffrey Epstein of the world cares about self-interest, cares about their own career, cares only about their own ethnicity, and this is reflected in the sort of people that that kind of are connected to him, and people connected to those people connected to them. Jeffrey Epstein and Peter Mandelson, of course, were best pals, and they were very successful in manipulation. They're very successful in networking, and this is exactly what Keir Starmer wants to aspire to be. Maybe he's not as he's going to as many sex parties or PDF pedophilia events, but at the same time, Keir Starmer shares a lot in common with these people. These people do not care about kind of like meritocracy. They don't care about the goodwill of people, of humankind. Obviously, it's not a surprise that Peter Thiel, one of the co-founders of Palantir, this person who made connections with Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, all these people, very well connected. They care about power, control. They care, and that control would give them more power in the end to seek and achieve a world that is to their benefit, not to the benefit of the majority of people. And we are living in a world which is increasingly individualistic and independent. And so, how do we come to terms with the fact that we're coming to a point of individualism, and we're coming to a point of where we we see that collective action may be redundant without a individualistic understanding of why we need to come together in the first place. Because of course there's no true collective action is not top down, it's from the bottom up. You need to come at it from a point of view of individualism first before we can actually come together and make a big difference. But but how do we reconcile this with a society that is run by these elitist psychopaths who don't care about the majority, don't care about the effect of the world's systemic issues on ourselves as people? Well, first of all, we need to educate ourselves. We need to express ourselves, and then also by just by virtue of the fact that systemic issues do affect the individual, and so therefore the two are interconnected. We need to realize that when we are doing creating messaging that kind of impacts the general population, that it impacts them individually as well. And also systemic issues affect the individual issues affect the system. And this without this under integration of individualism and of collectivism, without having an understanding, then we could end up kind of living in a world where the elites like Donald Trump have the moral sway because they are completely individualistic by nature. They don't care about the collective. They only pretend to care about the collective through the jingoism or nationalism or the kind of rhetoric that pits us versus them. But they never cared about the working class. They never cared about anything other than symbolism as a way to seek and achieve power. We need to understand that individualism and collectivism are both need to be addressed, both need to be integrated. Um, and so in my future videos will look at this. But back to the original point of this story, Keir Starmer, his approval ratings are going down. Donald Trump's approval ratings are going down, and Jeremy Corbyn's approval rating, especially amongst young people, or at least the prospect of the Greens and Jeremy Corbyn coming together, they are increasingly more popular. Of course, the demonic, batshit crazy Reform Party, which is simultaneously racist and um, just without any rationalism, is it would likely be the next party that comes in power, because of course there is no real significant movement in terms of progressives fighting against the right wing, because of course that issue, that kind of like that movement has been plugged and kind of diffused by the Keir Starmers of the world. But anyways, more in this future. um, Corbyn is on an uprise. Keir Starmer is on downfall, and it's not a surprise that Jeffrey Epstein is pulling everyone along with him. The people who are his confidants, his network. These disgusting, evil parasites. And people are coining the word the Epstein class, or elitist. No, these people are parasitic. These people are part of the parasite class. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.